just like, you know, the circumstance itself is just that's really awkward how they have that, because it's like, if I'm at school and I feel any reason to bring a weapon, for one, Texas is not the most innocent place to be. Everybody knows Texas is not innocent. And then at the same time, they're saying that 80% of the city is predominantly white. I mean, like it or not, it looks to me like what's going on here is that I think it just draws attention to this area, because it's not like these white people would do something that would draw attention to more like of a black community or a black area. So I think it sort of brings some social, involvement into the type of community and area this place is. The boy took it upon himself to it's no reason for anybody to be putting their hands on anyone. I can't imagine how that would seem suitable. Like, there's just some different ways to look at this. For one way, you could look at it as indicate, okay, well, let's say he would have said, I'm going to go tell one of the personnel that work here and report to them that you're telling me I can't sit here. Now, there's a couple of ways to stem from that way he handled it. And he could have said, well, okay, well, I'm going to tell them that you won't let me sit here. They could have handled the situation and been like, okay, well, why are you sitting up underneath that tent anyway? That's a separate tent, or maybe that's not the tent specifically designed, or maybe that was a tent for him. He could have told him, don't bother them. They have a right to sit there. So it's the means of whether or not he would have reported it and they would have did something about it. But the thing is, though, it's like little things like that really don't make national news, and it don't make headline news. And it's just the fact that there's such a lack of communication to where wanting to make news and headline news about things. And the first thing comes down to it is that people need to have some better authority. And the reality of the matter is you need a government that gives better authority. It's no reason why people are doing things and then when they want to report it, nothing gets done, to the point where people have to take things into their own hands. And that's really the moral of the situation, is that people have to take things into their own hands, because when they report shit, nothing gets done. And that's what the moral of the story is, that when you report shit, nothing gets done. Hence the fact that it comes down to the point where I have to defend myself and take matters into my own hands. Then once I do that, the after effect is whether or not my case of self-defense will be validated for, or I'm going to be tried on criminal charges. And that's really heartbreaking, because I'm saying, people are people, and there's a guide, there's a biblical word, there's a scripture out there that, apart from a lot of things that we as people, we fall into temptation of, that does not give people the excuse and the right to say that when it comes down to you making an opportunity for the signification of justice into a situation that does not call for duty. When someone does something wrong, you have to report it. It's only when you can't report shit, people take matters into their own hands. That's the only time that stems from that. And that's really what it looks like to me. It looks like it's stemming from when people report shit and nothing gets done. It don't make no sense that a 16-year-old, 17-year-old young man has to literally defend himself, take matters in his own hands, because motherfuckers ain't gonna do shit. And this is not a white thing. This happens with black people. Plenty of times when black people have reported things to these so bona fide black predominantly personnel, nothing gets done. So it is a very serious situation. The only way I could not see color in this is the fact that at the end of the day, many, especially, and and the truth is that it does revolve a lot around the African American culture of younger and just and older and all in all, because so many times we file complaints and people do nothing. The black personnel that works in the authority does nothing. So many people just turn a blind eye to what goes on with black people. You can't even rely on those who are black that work in those uniforms and have those uniforms on. You can't really rely on them. So it's as if niggas is literally on their own. Because you cannot rely even in the people in uniform are not accountable and don't do anything. So it's a means of, the truth is not no song. I ain't talking no put us in. I'm not talking no damn song. I'm talking reality. Fucking reality. Motherfuckers report shit and these motherfuckers do shit. Don't do nothing about it. It's really sad. We have to send our young black people into God knows what is going on. Because you cannot rely on people to do things. You report shit and people don't do anything. And it gets to the point where you got to take matters in your own hands. And you got to defend yourself. That's trifling as hell. And for that alone, he shouldn't have to suffer, because it's sad. It's really sad. People report shit. People do the right thing. People try to do the right thing. And people don't do shit about it. And it gets to the point to where you have to explode and defend yourself, and then they quick to lock your ass the fuck up and to fuck with you, and don't nobody give a damn. And that's dead ass wrong. Dead ass wrong. And then they sit there. Oh, well, it's been a shootout between the police and the... No, they put themselves in that position. Because when people report shit, there ought to be a way to deal with the shit. It's really ignorant. How ignorant is it for me to have to report something that happened with the legal system, but I got to come out of my pocket and then go to court and argue with these people, and go back and forth with what is common sense to spend more money, put more money into situations. No telling if the basic charges, you might could get waived free. But what if you have to go deeper into the case? Now you need a lawyer. That does take money. Unless you get pro bono. The point of the matter is, when people report shit, the whole point of reporting something is that there is someone there to tackle that situation for you. That's the reason why you report shit. Everything should not have to go to court, because the whole point of complaining about a situation is that this situation happened in a means of where it should be in a way where the person you complaining to has control to diminish that situation, compensate you for that situation, and allow you to feel like you can be justified for the injustice of the situation. It makes no sense in this country. And not to be nasty, not to be foul, not to be disrespectful, but to validate for all others and to validate for those outside the borders that at the end of the day, when people file complaints, why can't anything ever be done? Why deems a good question. Why deems a good question. When I file a complaint about something, I don't care if I'm broke, I don't care if I'm rich. When I file a complaint, yo motherfucker monkey ass better get on your damn job and do something about it. Don't have no reason. It's no excuse. It's, the government is supposed to stand firm over the people. So it don't matter whether you're rich or whether you're poor, they are the dominant. That's the beauty of confidence. That's the beauty of dominance. That's the beauty of government, is that you hold the upper hand, rich or poor. You make a break. That's supposed to be the confidence and beauty of a system that governs the people. It don't make no sense that people complain about stuff, people file complaints about shit, and nothing gets done about it. Then people have to take into their own hands to defend themselves, and this is just supposed to be just, oh well, that's just how it is, that's just how it's going to be. Like, no, like this is supposed to be a, it shouldn't be just so easy for people. But just not do what people ask them to do. People go to people about simple shit. Simple things that don't take much common sense. You are very aware. You can look at this situation and tell very well what's going on. It's like people deliberately, intentionally chooses not to do things about it. And the fact that he's so young. I'm old enough to be his grandma. Not his mama, his grandma. And here I'm listening to him saying that in so many ways it's given when you tell people stuff, they don't do anything about it, to the point where you have to just literally take matters into your own hands. And then when you do, and the sad part is that, it's like, they're saying he's in a predominantly white area. But the sad reality is, if it was a black precinct, I don't even think they would have really given him more validation. And that's the sad part. Because sometimes it's like there's no difference between one and the other. As if it's like the whole system is like, it's programmed to not give a damn. And it don't matter who in that fucking uniform. It don't matter who in that uniform, because the more they try to sit here and pinpoint out the light Negro from the dark Negro, you're still hurting your black people. You're still hurting your black people, because it's still going to be black people who's going to have to pay. Because the truth is, everybody wants to protect the light Negro. That ain't just that whole Negro. See, you got some light-skinned Negroes that's purebreds. That's the one that's still speaking and validates for the dark-skinned Negro. So all this playing the hand in the field of the light Negro and the dark Negro, Guess who still has to be punished for that? The dark Negro. Because you can't really separate. Because it's not like it's an impure. It is a pure Negro. So it still reflects right back to you. And people need an opportunity to reach out and get that out there and get that heard, because it should never be a reason why, even after slavery, with the ability to read and write, be able to get up and work, have this kind of access to some government assistance, to have that and still be so ignored and so unheard of all the times. I mean, are we even aware of whether we're coming or going? And it really just boils down to, even though there's no females involved in this, you know, the truth is, though, it's like, it really just boils down to the fact that, you know, let's just be honest. Like, you know, that's just not her place to do that. You see what I'm saying? That's not her place to make that judgment call. Now, see, people will say there ain't no female involved. But see, sometimes you gotta read between the lines. You really do. It's like father like son. At the same time, you know, in this generation, women do hold a more dominant upper hand than the man. So challenging this situation signals a lot about whether or not that was her place. And it was downright just not her place to do that. That wasn't her place to make that call. Because you never know if people were looking for a problem. You know? So if someone's, you know, if you know, that's why it's important for people to, you know, sometimes look at a situation with a she, even if it's a he involved. Sometimes you have to say she, because, like, you know, you have to recognize that it's just not her place to do that. It's not her place to, you know, put herself in that position. And it seems like there's a lot of strong hand in trying to signify where the male should be doing. But there's no alleyway to put the female in check. You know, but there's always a way to, you know, let it be known that, you know, to remind him of his place. So it's very unfortunate that women just seem to just continuously want to dominate over men and want to always play the role of the man. The biblical word says the man and woman should not work underneath the same dress, underneath the same wear of clothing. With the intent of role playing the same identity. what a man does and what a woman does should be different. You just have you have it where it's like there's so much that, seems to be more like trying to utilize the woman as the intimidation factor. So, I just really feel like, they're like, wanting to ignore the things that females do and always, rat out a lot of things. And, it's like as if, there is a female unit, there's a female jail, there's a female prison. And, in any facility, there's the male side and the female side. So, there just isn't supposed to be women working in the positions that these facilities sometimes hold. Because the thing is, though, people talk a lot of big boy shit, and people always talking shit. But at the end of the day, though, now she ain't even supposed to be working there, though, and she's technically not supposed to be there. So when trying to check somebody, you should check yourself as well. Because there's just some places women aren't supposed to be. And then it's like they're not even really helping. If things are going on while she's there, as if she wasn't there, then what's the point of her being there in the first place? I'm a strong believer that women have a place. And let's just be real, like if women were equal to men, then why would a man have to dress up like a woman if women are equal to men? And so if a woman and a man can portray the same role and have in action the same role, so if they can play action to the same role, then why would I need to dress up like a woman if I'm already the female? So since the man is equal to the woman, the woman is equal to the man, why should I have to dress up as a female to be a woman? I'm already in the equality of the female. So when people say there's no difference between a man and woman role, then why would I have to dress up to be identified as one? Why can't I just simply indicate, well, I'm going to be the female, you're going to be the man? Why do I have to directly dress the part? Mm-hmm. Because I'm just like, people should feel okay with the identity of who they are. Because there's like some, it just seems like there's some major levels here where, as far as, the financial level of one person from another person, as far as the momentum one has from another. Because everybody's not gifted with the same opportunities and privileges as someone else may have. But as far back as the history, as the American history can go and can show you that, that there ain't got nothing to do with the judicial means of things, regardless of how people call it. It ain't about what people say in that sense. Like, no, when it comes down to to the judicial means of how equal something should be justified, no level should determine that. As you never know, what you do to people come back to you. Karma is real. Karma is real. Be careful what you say to me, because it might come around on you. Be careful what you do to me, because it might come back around to you. If the shoe fits, wear it. All this trying to compare one from another. And, I tell you one thing. It's, this is a very deep conversation, and it's going somewhere that obviously takes some initiation, because things like this is nothing that just no one particular situation can really bring it out you, and it's nothing specifically someone can say, because this is the type, this deep thinking just literally screams other people's interaction. It takes people really coming together and standing to own this and to make this happen. That's really what it's giving, because particular situations where you take one step front, and it's like somehow you're falling back 3 steps. And that's why it's very important, especially in the African American community. Forgiveness is very important. Forgiveness is very crucial, because, to take one step, forward and just seem to be pushed back 3. or just seem somehow, you know, like rattled about something, like as if there's something that you want to say or get off your chest, or maybe there's something, and it's not just that, it's just a simple fact that there's so much more to how deep the understanding of what's really going on really goes, to where I don't really think it's anything that, unless you specifically can really talk about, you can't really I don't think it's anything specifically you can, you know, pinpoint, not just one person. It's just really given, you know, haven't built a safety net for each other. So God forbid if somehow, you know, black people stuck their neck out there, they wouldn't have to worry about any losses. They wouldn't have to worry about, you know, being out in the street, you know, because we would have built a safety net for each other, a means to accommodate and keep each other structuralized, and want to be structured in one place. You can't really be talking to the east, west, north, south, because you're always being pushed out the nest, and you're always being pushed out to just go fly somewhere. So you can't be really down with one angle, this angle, that angle, none of them. Because as black people, we don't allow each other to be home, because we're always forcing each other out the nest. And when we get out there, there's, you know, it's a cell, a cold, hungry cell to go to. So therefore, you are literally talking to yourself in the four walls. How can you be talking to somebody when you're not allowed to be there? You're in a rush, you know, get it out, say what you got to say, then move on. So you're not really talking to anybody. Nothing that you could definitively own and validate for yourself. You're not really being invited all the way in like you would need to be. It's some things you're not seeing. It's some things you're not being given. It's some things that's being withheld. It's some things you don't do, somebody else may do. So therefore, they're giving more validation to somebody else. That validation might even be deserving of that person, and it might be more likely for you to have it. But because you're not structuralized in the ignorance that black people sometimes think, it sort of boots you out of the equation. So you can't be a fool. You know, like the song says, don't be a fool. Don't waste your life on them. You know, because you can't be a fool. Because you're being pushed out the nest. You can't be talking unless you in the mirror. So the mirror is a reflection of some identity that accepts you and is willing to actually work with you. It's reaching those deep areas you have no choice but to accept. It's like the identity of someone you want to be perfectly for you. And a lot of times, the only person who can be perfectly for you is you. You and the good Lord above. So it's like a delusion to think that people are facing you can love you as much as you can love yourself. But if you're just talking into a mirror, then you're not talking to somebody else. This situation that had happened, and then there was no cameras there. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? It's no way in the world you should need to go to that extent, and then there's no cameras to validate for anything. That, you know, cameras are very, very, you know, it's you need cameras. They have all these. Why would you want to leave the camera off of the main area where you know the kids are going to be sitting? This is where they're going to be. This is where their interaction is going to be. They're sitting up underneath each other. This is where the camera should be. Because not only is this, it's not like it's closed off to other kids at the school, though. They do have a right to come there because they do participate at the school. Either way, it is open to other youth or the community if they want to come and sit back and view it. So, foods are prepared by animals. So, you always want to lead by example. Yes, you do. And I might have to agree to that because it's like, when I'm watching something and some don't add up according to how they're trying to make it, some of them scenes just didn't, pan out. Maybe the reality would not have been what people would want to see, but doesn't mean it's not true. But I'm just like, since we all lead. So I'm just like leading by example. No sense in trying to exaggerate what ain't really there. But flour and water, okay. Yeah, like, I'm like, if you have, I'm not sure what's going on to where people have to eat flour mixed with water every day. Flour and water needs to be cooked anyway. Okay, it is not edible because the flour is not done. Especially once you mix it with water, it presents another kind of texture, which at this point is not healthy. It's not healthy. Flour is not healthy for consumption when it's dry. And it don't make it, it don't make it any better to help it go down just by adding water. You have to cook it at this point. Now you need to cook it. Anything you do with flour needs to be cooked. Or you don't need to be messing around with flour. The thing that people put so much water and flour can be useful if you know how. It's some things you can mix with flour and water and it be edible. But just flour and water alone every day? No. If that's the case, you might as well get some oatmeal. Some oatmeal and some butter. And a cup of water. That's a decent meal. I mean, people are human. A loaf of bread or a roll. A decent, sizable roll of decent bread. Decent cooked bread. Not some old, I don't like the taste of some just taste off. Like a decent piece of normal bread, a roll, as an adult would have to eat. As an adult, like this is an adult facility. So obviously an adult, reasonable hand, I would say bigger, just about as bigger than the hand, roll with some decent oatmeal. Decent oatmeal now. Don't fix people something they can't even swallow. I would like some decent oatmeal and a roll and a cup of water. I would feed that to anyone, anything, no matter who came up in there. It saves me the stress of feeling some kind of guilt right along with them. I'm like, and then there's other ways to deal with situations, but I'm like, oatmeal is not hard to come by. That's not excusable. No, oatmeal is not hard to come by, sweetie. Like oatmeal and a thing of water. I don't care what it is. Because I really wouldn't care what they came in here for. Water is all you're going to get because that's really all you need. I care less. You could be leaving it tomorrow. You don't even get 24 hours, but you'll get water. It's all you gonna get. You ain't gotta come up in there and be telling the story. And then give us some water. That's all you gonna get. Good ass healthy water, goddamn it. Just so you gonna get out of me.
Why even going that way? I know these yams is looking delectable, but fuck with me, you gonna starve.
Water, and maybe perhaps due to behavior at other levels, But I'm like, if you gotta feed a person flour and water, I don't know what they've done, but I'm like, nah, that's some flour, a roll, and some oatmeal, yeah. That is literally a decent meal for everyday use. And a boiled egg here and there. Did you know that is a balanced meal a person can live off of every day? Boiled egg, oatmeal, a roll, and some water.
But y'all don't get caught up in what the school produces. LeBron James, if you need my help, I would love to go into your school, my brother, and conduct a comprehensive analysis of the state of special education at your...
Now, for those who are not so